Hello and welcome to pfSense Bootcamp Part 2, series of videos aimed at those who seek to become proficient in installing, deploying, and configuring pfSense. And I had a suggestion made by one of my YouTube viewers that I make shorter videos. I think this was a good idea, and there's two main reasons why I thought it was a good idea. Because first of all, it will make the videos easier to produce. Secondly, it will hopefully lead to more easily watched videos and therefore more digestible bits of information to learn. So as a result, I have scaled back the scope of this video. I want to do some initial web interface configuration in this video, the WAN and LAN setup, and also I want to configure at least one additional interface. We're not going to get to IPv6 configuration this video. I'm going to save that for the next video, and then after that we'll do probably DHCP configuration and other services, and we'll go from there. So to begin, we're going to go back to our virtual box here, our pfSense virtual machine, and as you might recall from the last, if you watched the last episode, I installed pfSense 2.3.3 into a virtual machine, and I assigned two IP addresses. Well, I assigned two interfaces, IP addresses. I have the WAN and the LAN, and the LAN has an IP address of 192.168.1.1. Well, that was where I ran into my first snag when I was preparing this video, because apparently VirtualBox wants to use the 192.168.1 subnet for its own purposes. So I decided to just use a different subnet. So that's the change that I'm going to make here. I'm going to change the LAN IP address. So I'm going to select two from the console menu here. And it says available interfaces WAN LAN. I'm going to select two for LAN. And I'm going to enter the new LAN IPv4 address, which is going to be 192.168.0.1. It wants a subnet bit count. I'm going to just pretend for the moment that classless networking doesn't exist, and I'm going to abide by the convention whereby 192.168.x.x is a class C address, and we'll just make the subnet bit count 24, so it'll make life a little easier for us. And then I'm going to press enter here because that's what they want you to do for LAN. And then I'm not going to send an IPv6 address right now, so I'm going to hit enter. And it says, do you want to enable the DHCP server? It might be helpful to enable the DHCP server from the get-go in some cases, but I'm going to select no, because I'm going to do DHCP configuration from the web GUI. And do you want to revert to HTTP as the web configuration protocol? No, we're going to continue to use HTTPS, so we're going to use the secure HTTP. So we're going to hit no there, and so now we have as our LAN IP address 192.168.0.1. So now we're going to go back to the VirtualBox Manager, or we're going to go to the VirtualBox Manager. We haven't been here yet today. And I'm going to look at the settings for the network settings for pfSense 2.3.3. Adapter 1 is attached to NAT. That is our WAN interface. Adapter 2 is NAT network. Other fake LAN, that is our LAN interface. So we want to make sure that our Mint Linux virtual machine, or a Linux Mint virtual machine, has a match on the network interface here. It matches the settings for the LAN interface on our pfSense virtual machine. So adapter 1 is the only adapter, and it's set to NAT network. another fake LAN which matches the settings on the LAN interface of pfSense. So that's good. And we'll now launch the Mint Linux virtual machine. And when we get into the virtual machine, we're going to confirm the network settings. And then we're going to log into the pfSense web GUI. And the first thing I should note is that we did not enable the DHCP server in pfSense. So that means that we're going to have to go with a manual IP address configuration here, rather than DHCP. So that's, I think, is pretty standard for configuration, just making sure you're on the same subnet as your pfSense box, but doing a manual IP address configuration. Oh, the other thing that should have noted is that if you just have your WAN interface configured and no other interface configured, your pfSense box, you can log in to your pfSense box from the WAN interface IP address. This is useful if you're doing some initial configuration and you have your pfSense box deployed on somewhere other than the interface between your network and other networks. So you might have it just connected to one of the ports on your local network, and you need to get in. You need to do some initial configuration. Maybe you have packages you want to download and configure. As long as the WAN interface is the only interface configured, you can log in from the WAN interface IP address. But once you configure at least one other network interface, you can't do that anymore. So let's click. I'm going to mouse click on the network icon here. Go to network settings, and see I'm going to click on options here. And just to show, I'm going to click on IPv4 settings. We have the address set to 192.168.0.10, so it's on the same subnet as our pfSense box. The net mask matches, and the gateway is the LAN interface of our pfSense box. So that's all correct. And you can also get the same information from ifconfig if you want. So you can see there the address and other information. So next, I'm going to launch Firefox. And we get, you see we have internet connectivity here. So we're going to log into 192.168.0.1. And so you see we get the login page here. The initial username and password is admin, and password pfSense. It may behoove you to change that password. It also may behoove you to set the admin account to something other than admin to further secure your system. So do login here. And I already logged in once, so we don't get the wizard. But just to show you, when you log in for the first time, you get this setup wizard, and that helps you with the process of configuring your pfSense system. So it says this wizard will provide guidance to the initial configuration of pfSense. The wizard may be stopped anytime by clicking on the logo image at the top of the screen. So we'll do next. And there's an advertisement here for pfSense Gold. So if you want to get some support and also support the pfSense project, you can do that by clicking on the link here. Let's click on next. And our host name, I'm going to change the host name. We'll do it the Wookiee. And the domain we'll do let's do mydomain.com. And the primary DNS server we'll set it to 8.8.8.8, which is one of the Google DNS servers, and the other one will be 8.8.4.4, which is also Google. Override DNS. It says allow DNS servers to be overridden by DHCP PPP on WAN. So whatever DNS servers the DHCP server returns will override what I set here as the primary DNS server and secondary DNS server. So I see no reason not to override DNS, so I'll leave that checked. So I'm going to click on next. And time server, you can change this if you want, but I usually just leave it to the default time server. And my time zone is New York, so set it to America Eastern. Here, America. Here we go. I should be listed here. Oh, here, America, New York. So we'll click on next. And here's configure WAN interface. So there's some useful things here. Usually you have your WAN interface selected as DHCP, but you can also choose static or point-to-point over Ethernet or point-to-point tunneling protocol. You can do MAC address spoofing by putting a MAC address in here. Just be warned that the MAC address, it has the manufacturer portion of the MAC address, which is the first 24 bits of the 48-bit MAC address. It has to have a valid manufacturer ID, or it won't work. So you can't just type like 01 colon 02 and that won't work. So just be aware of that. And I'll leave this. You really don't for most configurations you don't have to change any of this, but just be aware that if you have a point-to-point protocol over Ethernet or point-to-point tunneling protocol connection, that you can make the changes here. And then you have RFC 1918 networks. You can block these private networks from entering via WAN, and you can also block non-allocated networks from entering via WAN. So I'll leave these as the defaults and just click on next here. Okay, and now we have configure LAN interface, so we'll keep that as the LAN, what we entered into the console, and we'll keep the subnet mask as 24. And it wants us to change the web GUI password, so we'll do that now. Probably a good idea. We'll click on next. It says click reload to reload pfSense with new changes. So click on reload. And it says reload is now in progress. Please wait. So let's continue on to the pfSense web configurator. So now we see a page similar to the page that I showed you in the actual deployed system. And it displays some information about. So it says notice it says the system is on the latest version because we have 2.3.3. There hasn't been any updates since then, so that's why that is. And it gives the platform CPU type, uptime, and DNS servers it found our local DNS server, but it has the ones that I entered. And state table sizes and they're not doing very much, so it's less than 1% state table usage. Um, and then load average, CPU usage, and memory usage is very small because we're not doing very much. And so and disk usage is about 29%. So I only allocate two gigs for the um, the hard drive here, so I used quite a bit of it. So anyway, I wanted to conclude by configuring one additional interface. So I'm going to click on the Interfaces tab, and you can see there's LAN and WAN entries here. So we go in and configure anything that we want to about regarding those two interfaces we want to. But I want to add a new interface, so I click on Assign at the top here. And we have WAN, LAN, and available network ports. There should be two. Yes, there are. There's EM2 and EM3 because we had four network interfaces for our pfSense virtual machine. So I'm going to leave it on EM2 and click on Add. And you see now we have an opt1 interface. So let me click on opt1 as description opt1. I'm going to change that to DMZ. This is going to be our demilitarized zone interface here. So IPv4 configuration type. We're going to do static IPv4. And it said we're not going to do IPv6 configuration this video, so we're going to leave that, and we're going to leave MAC address. We're not going to spoof the MAC address, and the MTU and MSS we're going to leave as the defaults. Speed is we're also going to leave as default, although we could change that if we wanted to, but we're going to leave it on auto select. And then we're going to enter the IPv4 address, and we want a subnet that hasn't been used by anything. So I'm going to use 192.168.3.1, and we're going to do 24. We're going to abide by the Class C convention and put it 24. This is important because if you just leave it at 32, it will, it won't work, and then you'll be wondering why it doesn't work. So let's click on Save, and here we have we have the same block private networks and block bogon networks options here. So we'll click on Save, and it says DMZ configuration has been changed. I'll do Apply Changes. And now we should have DMZ as one of the interfaces here. Yes. And we'll go back to the pfSense tab here. Oh, you need to enable the interface. Almost forgot about that. So we go back to the DMZ entry here under interfaces, and we click on Enable Interface. We check the Enable Interface box here, and we do Save, and we do Apply Changes, and now we should see when we go back to the startup page, we see DMZ there. So now we should be able to ping DMZ from the command line. Yes, it works. So we have, in this video, we got through just doing some of the initial, making some of the changes within the console that we needed to do to get this to work. And we did some initial web configuration, and we added an interface. So not bad for one video. So remember, if you don't forget to subscribe, subscribe, share, and like this video if you liked it. And subscribe to my channel if you feel that the content is worthy. And I'll come back with another video in which we'll cover IPv6. So I'll see you in the next video.